I have the opportunity to welcome Rikard Nordström, who's the system administrator for DAM of the National Historic Museums of Sweden. Our colleague Heather Hart is chairing Track 2, Heather from the Huntington Library, Art Museums and Botanical Garden. And we have a couple of split sessions here on this in our next time together. Richard, it's been so fun working with you and getting to know this small little project that you've been working on about bringing widely different museums under the canopy of one dam. Over to you, and thanks so much.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you for having me on board. So my name is Rikard Nordström. I work as the digital asset manager here at the Historical Museums in Sweden, in Stockholm. And you can see my contact there if you want to get in touch later. So today I'm going to talk about our organization, of course, and how we fit everything into this DAM system. My background is, university-wise, I did some culture studies and media technology, so I have a bit of both. If anyone is interested in that part. My work has mainly been in the cultural heritage sector and a lot in photo archives, and I think that's probably something that's pretty common with DAM managers. And before I came to the historical museums, I worked at the National Museum here in Stockholm, which is the fine arts museum with the DAM system we had over there, which was a cloud-based system, and now I work with an on-premise system, so I kind of work with both. So today I'm going to talk about a bit, of course, about the organization, so we get kind of the framework for what we have to fit into the DAM system and kind of where we are in that process at the moment. And I'm going to try to share some key insights that I've gathered on the road so far. So I've been at the museums for almost 2 years now, so I'm not entirely new, so I'm kind of getting to know the system, but I'm not, of course, one of the veterans just yet. So who are we? Well, the Historical Museums is like a central museum agency here in Stockholm that consists of several different museums. We're going to talk about the museum part today, the 6 museums. It's actually 7 different museums, and we have an independent part, the archaeologists, which have their own financing. So we are our mission, of course, is to promote knowledge and interest in Sweden's history and preserving and developing our cultural heritage. And of course, it's important to us to matter to everyone in society, in our society. So in 2018, these museums were merged into this central museum agency, the biggest in Sweden. And we have actually a pretty standard setup, I guess, for museums. We have the supporting function, as you can see, and human communications departments, and we have the digitization and IT department, and that's where I work. So I belong to that department. So I have kind of the full backing of the IT department. So that's how our museum is kind of set up. Pretty standard, I guess. And I mean, the DAM manager, it varies a lot between museums where you kind of belong. Sometimes the DAM manager works at the communications department, and sometimes at the IT department. So I think you can find many different ways to set that up in our museum. So as you can see, there's more than 6 logos here, and I'm going to talk about why that is, so that you can understand what we have to fit into this DAM system. So we have the archaeology, and we start on the left-hand side there. We have the archaeology department. That's they have their own financing, so they are an independent part, and they're not included in the DAMs just yet, but who knows, they might be in the future. We have the Economy Museum, and as you can imagine, they have the economic history of Sweden with the bills and the coins and all the treasures. And we have The Hallwyl Museum, which is a historical building here in central Stockholm, which is amazingly well preserved. It was donated to the state in 1920, and it was built ready in, I think, 1898, something like that. So if you've seen like shows like Downton Abbey and Gilded Age and stuff like that, you kind of get the feel of the age and the aesthetics of that building. We have the History Museum, of course, which is where I have my office here in central Stockholm. So it deals with, of course, Sweden's history from the Stone Age to the modern times, with Viking Age and Bronze Age and medieval times and so on. So it has everything from Sweden's history. We have the Royal Armoury, which is housed in the floor parts of the Royal Palace here in Stockholm, in the old city. So it has all the royal history. So it has all the artifacts from the kings and queens throughout the ages. Some amazing artifacts in that museum. And outside of Stockholm, we also have the Skokloster Castle, which is this 17th century, amazingly well preserved castle outside of Stockholm. That's well worth a visit. Amazing experience. That's been pretty much kept the same way it was when it was built in the 1650s towards 1670s. So it's super well preserved castle outside of Stockholm. And then we have this new addition, the Swedish Holocaust Museum, which of course preserves the memory of the Holocaust. And they opened up just last summer. So they opened up with this exhibition, 7 Lives, about the survivors of the Holocaust who ended up in Sweden after the war or fled to Sweden during the war. And so that's kind of everything that we have to fit into this dam system. And we also have the Tumba Paper Mill outside of Stockholm, which belongs, it's administrated by the Canopy Museum, because the paper mill has all the paper pressings and some of the oldest kept paper presses over there. So that belongs to the Canopy Museum. So it's like six big museums that has these different moving parts in them. So we could keep all of this in the dam system. And the content creators, well, we have the usual suspects, so to speak. We have, of course, our amazing photography team, which takes both film and video, of course. And we have this digitization projects, which, of course, also produce content for our dam. We have outsourced some scannings and stuff like that. So we have, of course, our ordinary employees can also upload to the system. So we have this many different streams of the assets that's being ingested into our dam system. So we have, of course, our photography team that produces a lot, but also our collections departments and so on. So all of this is managed in the dam system. So how did this come about? Well, as I said earlier, I arrived in 2022, and before that, I did the public procurement that you have to do when you're a government agency. So you can't just, unfortunately, you can't just go out and buy what you like. You have to go through all these rules and the process, of course. So that was in 2021. I arrived at the museum in 2022 and started the ingestion from all the older dam system and from all the servers and so on. And we started to do train our colleagues in 2023, and now we're just trying to improve and work with integration, of course, and we have refresh training every year for our colleagues if you need to do that. So where are we if you look at the 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 and so on regarding our dam system? Well, somewhere in between, I think. If you look at dam 1.0, it's just a basic asset archive, and 2.0 more of a more advanced archive where we can start doing integrations and stuff like that, and 3.0 more of a central hub for everything. Well, somewhere in between 2.0 and 3.0, I would say we have We have integrations, of course, but we also have, personalized our system for different groups and colleagues that we can bundle together that use it in certain different ways and so on. So it's not a silo in any way, and we have two-way communication. So somewhere in between, I would say. So, a few guiding principles here at the museums that's very important to our dam system that have implications on our dam system is, of course, to have this vision of being one SHM, one agency that has equal access to everything. And of course, we have something very important to us, which is our open access policy. So what that means is that we are offering the public this ability to download, share, and collaborate and remix and reuse images the way they want to. We try to provide unrestricted access to our high-res materials, and everything in this, of course, has its effects on our dam system and how we license images and so on. We try to adhere to this FAIR principle, if you've heard about it. It's our assets or our objects being findable and accessible and interoperable and reusable. So that's also something that has implications in our dam system. And of course, we have the Europeana site that we deliver assets to. This is common web portal for Europe. So everything like this has its implications on how we set up and think about the dam system, the licensing and everything that we work with. And of course, we have thousands of images on Wikipedia Commons too. So it's important for us to of course, have the updated information in our dam system. And then some technical standards that we use. So what kind of assets do we have in a dam system? Well, as you can see, the absolute bulk of it is object related. So it's been super important for us to work with integrations. So I would say around now, probably 75 and 80% is our object related photos of objects. And then the rest is like all the events, exhibitions, historical images, and interiors and exteriors. So that's as you can see, the bulk of our stuff. We have our online search the collections feature, which also is set up. We have the same philosophy there as in the dams, where you can search through everything. So that's our external search the collections feature. So one of the super important key insights that we kind of gathered throughout these years is the importance of transparency. So it's super important for us. This is just like a screen dump from our landing page in the dams, is that everyone can access everything from all the museums. So we didn't want to have this silos where you log on to the system and you only see kind of the assets that's connected to the museum that you happen to work with. We wanted everyone to be able to search through everything. So you have this big search bar up there where you can search through all the museums. It doesn't matter which museum you work for. You have the right to access everything. You can download what you want, and you have the right to upload. Everyone has the right to upload materials and download whatever you need. So transparency is super important for us. So we don't want any silos or walls in our dam system. And that's, of course, leads to transparency, and that leads to the synergy effects that we wanted in the dam system. Transparency leads to synergy. That's been super important, a key insight for us, because we want our colleagues to be able to do these searches and learn about the other museums and see if they can use something from another museum in their line of work and so on. So we wanted really to be this one stop where you can access everything at the museums and see if you can use that in another platform and another surface that you're using. So if for example, you were maybe you work with communications and you want to set up a summer leave for kids new something for social media or whatever, you can do these searches and you will get hits in all the archives in our dam system. So not only the one that you happen to be working for, so that you can use those assets to bring everything together in a more, well, make it more accessible and let everyone see it and be able to use everything that's produced in the other museums. So that's been super important insight for us, that this transparency leads to these synergy effects. It's incredible for us. So, well, how do we tie all those museums together? Well, with metadata, and we have to keep to those standards and really see to it that we all use the exact same fields at all the museums. Otherwise, it won't work to create all those parts in the dam that we want our colleagues to use. So we have, of course, common metadata fields that everyone has to use. Everyone has to use the same fields for the object numbers and the photographer's name and the licenses and the titles and descriptions and so on, because this will not work if everyone try to use other fields for their museum. So it's super important to us to have everyone adhere to these standards, so we can make everything searchable and findable in our dam system. So a big chunk of my work is to try to streamline that metadata that we have at the moment, so keep it in the exact same fields for everyone, so we can do those searches. So it's super important for us to have this metadata consistency in our system. So that's a very important key insight for us. So if we were to search for exterior images for this particular museum, for example, we have to have that consistency in the metadata so that we can start building this experience for our colleagues. So we can create those subfolders and small subparts and so on, so that we have that metadata always in the same field, so we can start building something for our colleagues to navigate through. Super important, that also. So here you can see as you get those hits and you finally land in the asset, and you can see that that exterior shot is added to the keywords, and of course everyone has to use that same term, so it works in all the folders there. Automation, of course, is super important also. We have to try to put automation in all parts of the process. So can start with a barcode and apply a metadata template, and then apply metadata also when we ingest the asset into the dam. So we have this metadata enrichment all from the beginning of the photo studio to the archiving in the dam system. So that's been super important for us to have automation all the way. So integration is also a very important part for us. We do this to, well, just to simplify the workflow and avoid duplicates. Of course, we want one asset to be used by both our collections management system and our dam system, so we don't have to create those duplicates, and we get standardized metadata also. And it's super important to have this change tracking functionality, so when something changes in our collections management system, that's written down to the photo of the object also. So we have a two-way communication there. So the dam system is like the master of the information in the media file, and of course the collection management system is the master of the information about the objects. So it's super important for us to have that working also. So I just wanted to end with some a small pep talk for everyone who works with dam system and as a dam manager. When you start working with a big system like this, you have to start somewhere, and you have to start, like, maybe it's when you're working through your day, you work with just a small batch of images, and it might not seem much, but every day you try to make the system better. And if you look back, like the last year, you can see that a lot of stuff has been done. So I just wanted to get that last slide up and going for you guys. So it's really easy. It's easy to see that you've made some progress during the year. Well, the road ahead, we're going to continue working with integrations, of course, and we also look into like AI tools that can help us along the way, of course, and we're going to explore the possibilities of cloud also. We have an on-premise system at the moment because we didn't feel that we had the need to rush into a cloud solution just yet. We wanted to get our stuff in order first and start looking into file formats also that could work better for us. So a lot of stuff ahead there, and going to stop my sharing now, Dave. So I think I made it through in time. Hopefully, all the slides there.
Thanks so much for
quicker on. Yeah, thank you, David.
You bet. It's been fun talking in these weeks, getting ready for today, and then having a chance to share this with quite a global audience and a very interested audience. There have been a couple of many questions that have come in, and I'm going to join a couple of them together. So I'll read both of the questions, and they're both governance related, as you would expect. So let's start with one, then I'll get to these other two. What was the impetus to do this as a project across the museums, and where did the funding, the strategy, the drive to do this, create once, use many, to coin a damn phrase, come from?
Yeah, well, we have the IT department is cross-functional, so it works with all the museums. So it was really impossible to not go into the dams world, because we had even a dam before I got here, another system. So we really had to have a system where we could unite all the metadata and the assets we had, and one system where we can reach everything. So we still have our stuff on premise, because we didn't feel that we were mature just yet to just push everything up in the cloud. We wanted to get this bird's eye view of all the folders, of all the servers that we need to ingest. So it was very important for us to get into dams, to just get it's completely exploding with assets nowadays. There's so much content being produced everywhere, so you have to have somewhere to unite kind of the metadata for all our museums, so we can have the same standards everywhere.
And that's a great segue to two questions that came in that we'll join together. One is, what is your procedure in keeping the metadata up to date? And then to kind of round that question, who makes the decisions on field standardizations? So as we know, governance occurs at a big level where 6 museums get together and they say, here's the budget for next year. Here are very specific governance questions. How do you keep metadata up to date? And then who's got authority and decision-making on that?
Yeah, well, when it comes to, there's two big bulks of images or assets in our system. It's object images, and in that case, it's we have this change tracking functionality. So if something changes in our collection management system, that's automatically written down into the metadata of the files, of the media files. So that's super important. So that what keeps all the metadata up to date. And the same way, if we were to change a photographer's name in the DAM system, that would be written up to the collections management system. So it's fully automated, the updating, so it would be impossible to keep in track otherwise. So, and when it comes to know which fields to sync and so on between the system, that's something that we had like a broad group that came together from the collections management team that's also at the same department as me, and we who work with the DAM system, so we can have that open discussion of what do we need to sync, and to keep it simple. We don't need to sync everything between the systems. Just choose what's most important and work with that. So don't try to just cram everything in there. Just keep it simple as much as possible.
Does that group meet on a scheduled basis or
Yeah.
on demand, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, we meet every week. So everyone that's works with collections in some way meet every week. So that's a super important platform for us.
Nice. A logical question, and one I'm curious about the answer: how have the differences in the financial size of each participant affected the project?
Well, as we are one agency, that hasn't really affected the dam system at all. So the IT department serves all the museums. So the budget is for the dams is with the IT department. So it doesn't matter how big or small the museums is. Everyone has the same access and rights for the dam system. So it's not something that's depending on how big the museum happens to be that you work for. You can use the dam system the same way.
During your time there, has there been a change in management personnel at any of the museums? They're all participating, and that you've had to do a little extra persuasion to remind a participating institution that this is a way of life. We do not go a day without doing DAM. DAM is just how we do things. Have you had some of those governance and change management issues during your 3 years there?
I kind of early on started with those short kind of training sessions to get everyone on board. So, and that went out to all the museums, and so everyone had the opportunity to join one of those training sessions early on, just to get people, on board and to realize that this is the system we have now, and we have to use it to get everything consistent regarding our assets. And of course, bringing colleagues into the system to think about how we structure everything with subfolders and archives and tags and so on. So it's been really important to get as many people on board as possible. And as I work at the IT department, I already had the IT infrastructure and the colleagues behind me to support me also. So it's not always like that when you work with a dam system. It depends on which department you belong to, but I was fortunate to work at IT, I think. Really helped.
Yes, I think it's something that really influences adoption and success. Where does DAM start? What is the remit of authority? That this isn't an option. This is how we do work every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes many museums in the GLAMP sector have no particular monopoly over this behavior, where DAM can start someplace and then use it, even there they're supposed to use it. So it's a really great case study for all of us to benefit from the insights that you're sharing.
Yeah.
We had another metadata related, very specific governance question come in. Are there any open metadata fields where someone can freeform enter a tag that's not populated universally?
Well, we have this like notes system. So you can choose an asset and you can like put a note on it, and it will pop out on my end, so I can see if that is something that we want to add to an asset. So everyone has, even if you're not an administrator, all the administrators, of course, they can update the metadata if they wish to. But that's only a small team. So all our colleagues also have the right to like put a note on an asset to say that, oh, I see that that's the wrong date on that picture, and they can put a note on it, and I will get a notification that someone has written something on that particular asset. So it's also always they don't have to mail someone or send it through someone else and then to me. They can put a note on the asset directly into the system instead of just trying to reach me through mail or phone or whatever. So it's important for us that everyone has the right to take a note on the assets.
Interesting. Good approach to that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have there been any asset types that have been introduced since you started the project? There's such extraordinary capture technology that can get behind a sculptural object, the ever increasing dimensionality of scanning technology. Anything any new file types since you started the project that have been harder than others, or you might reflect on?
Well, 3D is definitely something that we have been working on for many years. That is something that we can store in the asset in the dams, but we have to think about a better way to be able to view those 3D assets also. So that's I think that's pretty common amongst museums nowadays to scan some of the objects in 3D, and that's also something that we work with. So of course that's a bit of a new asset for me to work with, but it's really exciting technology you can capture with great details nowadays. So it's super interesting area.
And I think that's part of the vivacity of DAM and why it's interesting as a field that if we have the chance to have a conversation when you take me to your favorite gallery at one of the museums and say, David, this is where I really like to go. There'll be some new, if we did that a year from now, there'll be some new digital expression. And where would that gallery be that you would say, oh, first David's coming here for the first time? Let's go here. Where would we go?
Well, I would start with the Swedish History Museum, because that way you would get like a great basic tour of Sweden's history. So you can start like in the beginning from the Stone Age, and you walk through this like timeline. So that would be a perfect place to start. And of course, you have the castle also outside of Stockholm, which is incredibly well kept, just the way it was in the 17th century. So much to see.
Both would be fascinating, and I like the idea of sort of starting with version 1 of DAM. We won't call it the Stone Age, but like the early almost. And look at where you are today. And my compliments on the progress that you've made and on the institution recognizing that DAM is an enterprise-grade application. It has ubiquity of opportunity, and the museums are lucky to have leadership as you've expressed here today. So thank you for your time. I look forward to continuing the conversation and joining you in the History of Sweden Museum at some point.